Virtual Thursday 2020, 11th edition of Virtual Thursday for the year. We're going to review the training module, Training 3.0, Basic to Advanced Class Records. My name is Mark Wolf, Lead International Trainer, and running wingman with me is Michael Fabian. Again, if you have some questions today, please put them into the chat. We'll get to them all. Please stay on topic. Our training opportunities, Virtual Thursdays are free. First Thursday of every month at 1100 hours. We have online training that we can supply to you, starting with some 3-hour blocks customized to meet your need. On-site training and regional training academy when we can travel again with our training team. And our Adapt 2020 Virtual Summit. We have 3 days, 20 speakers, 50 different sessions happening in November 17th, 18th, and 19th. And there's a cost to it starting at $99 per attendee. And you can get to that on our website. There's also a link at the top of our homepage that will take you to the sign up for that if you're interested in attending that. Right now, we have 2 regional training academies scheduled for 2021, Jacksonville, Florida, April 13th through the 15th, and Charlotte, North Carolina, August 3rd through the 5th. Those were sessions that were canceled from this year due to the COVID travel restrictions, and we hope to run those next year. Emergencyreporting.eventbrite.com is the website to take a look at those. And you can look at on our website, emergencyreporting.com, Training and Learning Center in the Customer Success section, and look up the regional training academies there, or email us at training@emergencyreporting.com. And sorry about the confusion, folks. We had a little technical glitch with that going on. So I want to give a shout out to a couple people that I saw in the attendance list. First, Mike Wood from Colorado. Mike, I got the message that Nicole forwarded on to me, and I'm going to call you later on after we're done on this, and we'll set some time aside to talk about a couple questions you have. And also wanted to give a shout out to Captain Dan Smith at Boeing Aircraft. I saw that you were able to get onto the session today, and glad to see you here with us. All right, so we are going to, without further ado, jump right on into this. First thing we're going to do is jump into the training module and a quick little overview of the grid. And naturally, we have a glitch right off the bat. I got logged out. We call them demo demons. Okay, so in the grid, we're going to talk about a few items through here. First of all, you'll end up on the classes page, and with the grid, and these are the columns that you can see data from your classes displayed here: the date, the time of the class, the name of the class category, location, the lead instructor, the length of the program, and the status. There's a few different statuses that are extremely important. I'm going to cover them right now before we get off the grid. First is incomplete. Incomplete training means that it has not been completed. It's either due that particular day or it's past due. And that's the case if the record is accurate, you want to go in and get it to the complete status, which is represented down here by black text, and it says completed. Now, the third stage that we want to get these into and talk about is reviewed. It's where the text turns green and is reviewed. And we'll show you how to do this within a training record. The important thing to remember is that most of the reports that pull training data do not pull the data unless they're in reviewed status. So this is something you'll need to keep up with and make sure you get them reviewed. Now, a few other items that we have in here is that you look at is if you have scheduled training, and I don't think I have any in this particular account, they will display on the grid as well, and it'll say scheduled, and that's for any class we schedule into the future. That text is blue. You can also look at some templates in here that are incomplete or complete, and we'll talk about those in a little while. And also you can see archive training classes. So if you have a class in that for some reason you want to archive, you can do that, and most of the reports will not pull data from archive training records. That would be if we made a mistake in the record and we need to just go ahead and replace it, whatever. Okay, so that's the basics of the grid. You've got filters at the top. So if we want to filter this by a class category, we can do so. If we want to filter it by a date range, so let's say in the last 12 months, you can see we made a big list into a smaller list by applying a couple filters to it. You can apply more than one filter at a time to this. Now with the date range in specific here that we can filter, we have some preset ones here, such as the last 12 months, 90 days, 30 days, last week, today, tomorrow, and into the future, this week, next 30, next 90, next 12 months, and this year. You can't change those. Those are hard-coded. If you're looking for a specific date range of training classes, what you'll need to do is go to Advanced Search. In Advanced Search on this page, you can put in a specific date range. So if I want to go back and pick July 2020, I'm not going to apply any other filters and just run my class search. We can find any classes within a date range that way. And we can apply more than one filter there as well. We'll go ahead and clear those search parameters. And that takes care of showing you what you can do with that advanced search. At the top of the page. What you can also do from your grid, you can do a CSV download. This data is basically the data you see here in the grid, and we can download class information. It'll take just a few seconds, and you'll see what this will look like in an Excel spreadsheet. So this is essentially the class information that we see in the grid for the most part. And you'll see the title of it, the date and time, the length of it, the category station, what evaluations that we have for it, did we use a template or not, yes or no, who our lead instructor was, and assistant instructors. We can scroll on over to resources, training codes, location, and objective. And that is the CSV download for class information, or we can do a class people download. I did not apply any filters to this. We'll jump into here and see, in this particular case, every person that attends any training class out there, name will be in here. So I've got this class. We had 4 individuals in it. Here's their names. And we've got this class. It's got a few in it. All the classes, when you build them, behind the name of it has a system generated class ID. And we can separate them out like that. So look at that specific information and other information that we put into the training record. So that is the CSV download. We are going to come back to class template and do add a class. I'm going to cover a few other items right now and mention that we're not going to really jump into the settings today. We did this a while back in a separate virtual Thursday. It happens to be our 12th edition in 2019. So if you log into our support page and go to our knowledge base, all the way at the bottom of that page, there's a section called Webinars on Demand, and we'll show you the 2019-12 Training 3.0 settings. Please go to that. We have a good discussion in there about the settings available to you. There's a video. Also, within this particular knowledge base article, we have some trading code example list. There's actually 3 of them that we posted in here. If you need to expand upon yours, you can take a look at them, download them from there. There's these are all Excel spreadsheets. And also we have posted in here training reports job aid that we have. This job aid will describe to you, I'm going to open it up to show you the source of training reports. So on the first page, your info page for a training, we have a couple reports that pull data from that information, the overall class category and class length. On the info page, the training code category, training code, and our information. We can pull records from here, or we can pull records from the people page in those training code hours. The nice thing about these is we can adjust the hours on that page, and we can report off of that. So we've got these reports highlighted and color coded depending upon where they pull the data from. And some of these actually even have other parameters, such as this 1502 report has a parameter for a class category, which is pretty beneficial to use. So don't hesitate to take a look at that Virtual Thursday, and you can download those example training codes and that training reports job aid that we have parked in there for you. We're going to talk about pending requests in a few minutes here. We'll talk about JPRs in a while. You do have the ability, if you have the correct permissions, to take care of your certifications in the training module. So within here, we'll be able to see every certification that we issue, and then you can manage them from here and keep them updated from that. So if you're the training officer responsible for that, you don't need access to the personnel records. You just need access to certifications in your training module to do that. We do have a couple bulk operations we're going to talk about directly from the grid here. Now, bulk operation is initiated by checking the boxes over here on the left in that column. So these two particular classes you can see are complete. One of the options that we have in the bulk operations is to set them to reviewed status. So a bulk operation can be to number one, print the record. We're going to give you the example of reviewing it. Perform that bulk operation, put our good old password in there, and you have to put some notes in. I'm still in September, sorry about that. And review it, and you'll see that we just changed those two to reviewed status. That bulk operations also work. That if we decide, and sorry Michael, but we're going to delete that, or not delete it, actually archive it is the term I should use. So we can't archive in bulk. So we just archive them. And if we go to active status instead of all, you'll see that those will disappear off our grid. The other bulk operation that we can do, if I select a couple of these, is we can print the information. So we have the ability to do a sign-in sheet or the class information or both, whichever way you need that. So it'll take a few seconds to create a print page. And we'll get there in just a moment. And here we are. So here's our sign-in sheet, class information, and this is the sign-in sheet for the other drill, and class information. So if you need those things, you can print them out onto paper. And you can also print them from the grid as well for each particular class with the printer icon over here. The little trash can over here does archive them. You cannot actually delete a training record, but you can archive them. And you can edit them if you just select any place in here in that row and jump into it, or select the little pad and pencil icon. So enough about the grid. Let's get into the real meat of things here. We're going to start by adding a class. We're just going to do a simple class right now. Basically, we're going to do the crawl this time around. So our class name, we have to title it, and it should be focused on something that you're going to be able to research. Because when we name this, it's on the grid, and we can use a keyword search in the filter to find things. So maybe we're doing some SCBA training today. We have to give it a date and time. So let's say we did this class this morning, and we started at 0900. And we're going to do something very simple, a single class, non-recurring, and we're creating it from scratch. selecting add class, and we go into the info page. We use the red light, green light system within the training module. When we have a red light, that means we've got fields that are required that do not have data in them. And also, when we save that pop-up dialog window creating this class, what we'll do is duplicate my tab here and go back to the grid. You'll see that we created the class out on the grid. Now, the other information isn't populated yet, but we can go ahead and schedule these. Like if this was today, so it still says today or scheduled. When midnight hits tonight, that will change to incomplete because it's past due. So in this particular page, you'll see your name is present there, class category. We pick the appropriate class category. Again, that's in your settings. If a station is involved in this and you want to note it, you don't have to, but you can. We get asked quite a bit about why can't we have more than one station here, and the system design currently limits us to selecting one station. We have to put an instructor in, and you'll see that we need, our minimum requirement is one lead instructor and only one lead instructor. So we're going to have Mac as our instructor today from our agency personnel. And you can add non-agency personnel as well. One thing you want to be careful of is you're adding anybody, the instructor type is always going to default to lead instructor. If you want to change that. Now, if we have somebody from the outside your organization teaching the class, we can just type them in and what organization they belong to. So assistant instructors, you can put evaluators in as needed as well. You have to have one lead instructor, but you can have as many assistant instructors and evaluators as you need. Resources. If you're using specific resources, like I'm just going to pick a couple here, for the training class, you can put them in. This is also in the settings and select them as appropriate here. It's a non-required field, but good data as always. The real important one is the training codes down here. Required field naturally. List of training codes that you have. So what we're going to do is use the filter. This is kind of a lengthy list. So if I filter this, like putting in a keyword here to filter it, and I can find the particular training code I need, and we can add it. Now, after we add that, the next step is very important here is putting our hours in. And this is set up this way, and this is the way I recommend doing it, is have that field there to put your hours in. You have to put all 5 characters in. So if this training lasted 2 hours, our keystrokes are 00200. And you can see it totaled our class length up here. Now we can add additional training codes. So let's say you trained on a couple topics in a particular day or time. You can add them as well. We'll just pick the NFPA 1500 safety. And we can put in a time for that class as well. Maybe we did that for an hour. And now you'll see at the top, our class length is reflected in 3 hours. If you want to note standards attached, this is something that's in the settings. You can actually add more than one standard. So I've got just a few in here, mostly ISO based. If it met some of these other standards, we can add them. Some of the reports, you can filter the reports by the parameter for standards, which makes it real handy for you. Your location. A couple places we can do this here. Basically, you have a location list that can be built in your settings. And you can just enter that. Now, if you have a new location, you can't enter it directly from the screen here. It's a common error that we see a lot is people will be kind of lazy maybe if they have a lengthy list and your personnel won't scroll all the way down this page, and then they'll duplicate one, and it allows you to do that right here, which we have written up to get fixed, but it hasn't been done as of yet. So there's our location. Objective, you can type that in, or what I like to note is that if we have a lesson plan written out, we can add that in the file section, which I'll show you in just a moment here. So, or you can just type out all your objectives. It may be simple or it may be complex with that. I've still got a red light, so what I need to do is check what am I missing here, and it comes down to the evaluation at the top of the page. So if we don't have any evaluation going on, we can simply check none. You'll see the others will gray out. I can't select them now. If we do skills based, we will check manipulative. We may check subjective if our evaluation is opinion based, or we may check written. You can check any one or all three of those at the top of the page here for our evals. Now you'll see we have a green light. So we are ready to move on to the narrative. By the way, this page auto saves every time you put data into a field. You don't have to save anything. Over to the narrative. If the narrative is important for you, just note that it's optional and just type it in. You can use a copy and paste in the narrative as well. Let's move on to the files. Now within the files, we can add a few things here. First of all, we can just add specific files, like if we have a lesson plan. We can upload up to 20 files at a time. We can do this multiple times if we need to. In this list, I have a lesson plan, MS Word document. And we've just uploaded that file in here. Once we have the file here and we select it, it's available here. We can pick it and then download it and take a look at it. Let's get that over here. There we go. Little sample demo lesson plan, not very extensive. Now with the lesson plan, if we upload a document, we can restrict who can see it. So the default is everybody that can access the class. Then we've got some other restrictions here with limited or full access and full access only on who can actually open that document and look at it. If you need to do that, you can. I'm going to jump over URLs right now and go to task sheet. So if you have a skill-based task sheet, and this is something else you can load up into the settings, you can bring it in, and I'm going to bring in this Ohio Fire Training Evaluation Form for PPE. And we've brought in that task sheet, and it's available here as well. That's what it looks like. This is what they use in the good old state of Ohio for firefighter 1 and 2 training. Now, if you're real handy and you've got a PDF editor, you can actually take these forms and turn them into an editable form fillable PDF, and you can do your little check boxes and type in your names and things on the form, and then basically save it or print it out on the hard copy directly from the system here, which makes it really nice. And the last thing that we can do is to add URLs to this. So what we're going to do is go out to good old YouTube. And we're going to go and search for, there is tons of YouTube videos out here. And we're just going to just pick this SCBA grinder YouTube video. And we'll just go ahead and pause it. What we're going to do is grab the URL at the top here. So we're going to do a copy, go into our training record, select add URL, throw it in here, name it, and we can put a further description if we want to. We can add in additional ones if we want to. We're going to save and close this. Then we're going to go up here at the top and just start closing up all this stuff. So here's that URL. When we select that, you'll see we have the globe here. As long as we have an internet connectivity, which we need to have anyways. and we select that, you'll see that we'll open up this tab and go right to that video and take a look at it. Absolutely tons and tons of videos available on all aspects of firefighter training out there on YouTube. You can add additional URLs in here. So it's a handy place to park your URLs if you're doing a training class and you want to have everybody access this stuff and make sure they have availability to view those things. So that's the files. The next page over is the people page. So we can add non-agency personnel to the record. I really don't recommend it. And the reason why I don't recommend adding non-agency personnel here is that some of the reports will pull non-agency personnel into your reports and can skew your data a bit. So I would just suffice it to say, if they need training records, let them keep their own records. Just keep those for your agency. Although I'm not telling you not to, I just don't recommend it personally from my experience. Adding agency personnel, your personnel list will pop up here, and you can filter this by name, rank, shift, station. So let's pretend like we are at station 1 and we have B shift on duty. We've made a bigger list into a smaller list and pick who is in our training class. Now with the settings I have here, we're going to have the hours column available on this page. And I recommend you have yours set up this way. And we're going to fill these hours. And it's going to dump them down here. And I need to put some pay grades in here. If you issue points for attending training, this is where you would add it as well. Simple as that, is putting a 1 up here and filling it. You can do either or. I recommend actually doing both if you do points. So we've got our personnel squared away here. Now we're going to go to authorize this. Pretty simple process. We come in and we complete it. Now some of you, this is a permission, roles and permission thing to be able to review them in addition to complete them. We're just going to go ahead and complete it. You'll see we'll get a yellow light here. We go back out to the grid. You're going to see that training class is in complete status. Now it's time for the training officer to review it. He can either use that bulk operation, or what he really should do, he or she, is to go take a look at the record and make sure we have the information filled in. And you can see this is not editable at this point since it is in complete status. Take a look at the narrative, files, who attended, and then when it's all reviewed, get the password in there and review it. That's where we want to get with that. Got a green light here, back out on our grid. It is green, reviewed. So Michael, we need to take a pause here and answer any questions.
I don't think so, Mark. I'm typing one up with David right now. Mike Wood had asked in the beginning just a relation as far as standards and training codes and categories go together, but I think you already mentioned that. Just one item of note, when you talked about the reports for the standards that can be run, 1640 comes to mind on that. It relates back to the training code hours for the standard used in that.
Exactly. So in that report, which I turned off actually, the training reports job aid that we have available out there for you does have all the parameters listed for each particular report. So it's be a good take the opportunity to look at that. I think that is 9 pages. We've got a ton of reports that are available through the training module, as you can see on this particular page. So Michael mentions training code hours for standard. So for standard, that word for means we have a parameter for those standards out there. So that's one. I think there's 3 or 4 reports in here that pull from standards. Okay, so let's go on. We're going to jump right into the next thing. So let's say we have a training class that we need to schedule. We're going to present it 3 times. When we add the class, I'm just going to call this recurring training. And we're going to schedule the first one for tomorrow at 0800. We're going to go ahead and, again, create it from scratch. And pull in the required data. Give it an instructor. I'm going to skip some of the optional fields right now. I think you guys get the drift of that. Put an instructor in. Go to a class category or training code category and training code. We're going to do a 2-hour class. Written eval. Maybe we'll go ahead and add a standard to this one. No location objective. I think you understand how that works. We're going to skip over these next 2 and go straight to the people. And it looks like I have skipped by selecting the recurring training button right here. We'll try this again. Recurring training, we'll give it the first scheduled date here. Add the class. Now you'll see that we have the schedule button now here. So very quickly I'll pick some data in the required fields. My training code. I'm going to leave the people page alone right now. So we don't really know who's there. You can leave that blank. And we're going to schedule it. So I've got my first day scheduled. So let's say we're going to do this on Friday. We're also going to do it on Saturday at 1000 hours. Insert it. And we're going to do it on Tuesday at 1100 hours. Insert it. We can keep on inserting this as many times as we need to. Excuse me. And then when we schedule it, you'll see out on the grid, we're going to have 3 classes scheduled. 1, 2, 3. There's Friday, Saturday, and Tuesday. That's how we would do a recurring training. Now you can do that out to a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, out to the future, and it'll work just fine. Okay, now the next thing we're going to learn for our adding of a class record is we are going to talk about using a template. So within this particular account, if I come down here to templates that are complete, you'll see we have a number of templates. So you can actually predefine a class record. These are pretty handy if you present the same material, such as we're going to pick on this SCBA training one here. If we take a look at this template, you can see we basically have it filled out. So we've got a 2-hour class on SCBA, our eval methods, class category. We have a station listed. We don't have any instructors. We don't have to list an instructor because you may not know the next time you pull this record what it's for. So you're basically setting up your training record that there's a minimum amount of data input. Now, as long as the class you're doing is of the same hours here, and you can actually edit those if you need to. You can put in your files here. So if you have a a task sheet you need to add to the template, you can. URL, other files like your lesson plan and so forth. And then when you get done with it, you can complete it, and it's got to be actually complete and reviewed. Then you can use it in a training record. So that was that SCBA drill template. You can create as many as you need and park them in here. Some classes or departments I've seen strictly use templates to add class records. That minimizes mistakes, keeps the training officer happy because everybody's putting it in the way he wants it in. Now to start a class using a template, what we're going to do is select this bottom radio button. Once you have templates that are complete and available, select that radio button, and then you can pull from your template. And you just have to put in your date. Let's do this today at 1200 hours. When we add this class, you'll see that essentially on the first page, the only thing we may need to do is add an instructor to it. And of course, we have a green light. Then we can go pull in our personnel. And we're just going to throw everybody that's on B shift at station 1 into the record. Fill in their hours. And since I don't have them in their personnel record with a pay grade, I need to add it. Many of you probably use the default $0 ones that are in there. If you set them in their personnel record, then you don't have to take the time to put them in here. Give everybody a point, and then we're going to go ahead and authorize this. So that's basically how you would do a class record using a template. And we're going to go ahead and review it. Now I'm just checking my notes here. It looks like I've got everything done, except for what we want to do is a couple things here. We're going to show you when you make a template, there's a couple things we need to show you. So when we add a class template, if we've already got an existing template out there, but I need to revise it, I can actually create one based upon my old one. I'm going to use this hazmat monthly drill. And this brought in my data that I can now update. So let's say this is a version here, we're going to add something to it. So I can take the opportunity to add items to it, revise it, so to speak, from creating it from that original template. So I've got, again, a minimum amount of data input to put into it. We get everything updated. Let's go to authorize it, and we're going to complete it. Just like that. One other way that we can do a template, I'm going to look at all my classes here. I'm going to pick on this one that I botched up a little while ago. So as we're entering a regular training class, and we get this set up as such, and you think, golly gee, I'd really like to have this as a template. You'll notice up here in the upper right corner, we've got a button to make a template. And just like that, magically, we've created a template. And now we have to just update, make sure everything is in here that we need, and authorize it. And we'll go ahead and review that too. I know I'm moving kind of quick, but we've got a little bit more material to put in. So I am going to ask Michael, do we need to answer any questions?
I think I'm typing back to the individuals on them fairly well here, Mark. There was one that I told somebody they may need to elaborate a little further because Mark Schaefer had asked, how would you enter a long running class like EMT or firefighter
Oh,
one that wouldn't span many days, but you don't want a line for each day? I just
okay.
wasn't sure what he
Oh,
meant by
yeah.
you want a line.
Oh, I know exactly what he's looking for. So here's how you do this. That was Mark Schaefer, right?
Yes.
We're just going to name it basically Firefighter 2 course. So we sent some people to the fire academy, whatever, we gave them a Firefighter 2 course. And what I would do for the class date and time is put in, let's say they graduated yesterday. I would put in on a long-term course the day they graduated. We're going to leave this a single record. We're not going to pull it in from a template unless we have one. However, on this page, now we're going to fill in all of our data here. Class category, firefighting. It may be maybe an instructor from the fire academy, or maybe a group of them. So I'm just going to put in, like here we have the Ohio Fire Academy, so the Fire Academy cadre of instructors. And I would have a training code in for a class like that. I don't know if I do. I might. Oh yeah, we've got one right here, Firefighter 2 class. So here's the nice part. We get complaints about this once in a while, but here's why it's this way. See in the hours field where we can put in actually 999 hours and 59 minutes. So if this was let's say a total class length, maybe a 285 hour Firefighter 2 program, that's how I do it right there. It's one of the ways I can do it. One entry, and I can put the whole class in at one time. Now my location may be, you might want to put in like a state fire academy of some sort in your location list, and then go to your people page and add the personnel in that took the program. So hopefully that answers his question on how you do that. And I can see somebody changed my settings because I cannot edit these people right now. So that's something I need to fix here. There is a setting here that you can edit them by training code that somebody changed on my account here. But hopefully that answers your question about how you put in a long-term class. EMT class, Firefighter 1 and 2 program, maybe they go to the National Fire Academy for a couple weeks with one entry. And we'll go ahead and get that reviewed. Okay, one last item to cover, and that is, we'll go back out to the grid. We're going to talk about JPRs. Now, JPRs, job performance requirements, is what that means, is basically you can list a list of classes that are required to complete within a certain time frame. So we've got a few of them out here on here that you can see. We're going to go ahead and add a new one, show you how this works. We're going to call this Virtual Thursday 2020-11, and we're going to start this on September 1st and run this JPR through September 30th. We're going to put a demo JPR in as our description. Now, if you have the full safety analytics package, you'll have the ability to check mark that and you'll dump it into the safety analytics gauge for training. Now, this is based upon templates, so you do have to have templates in the system to do a JPR. I'm going to select that JPR and, or that template, I should say, and that other template I just created. You can put in a number of templates. Just remember your date range up here that you're requiring your folks to get this training in, and make it reasonable. And then we can select who needs to complete all these templates down here. So in the case of many departments, you may exempt your admin folks from this. So we're going to just pull in the shift personnel. We're going to add all the personnel from A shift. And we're going to go in and add all of our personnel from B shift. And then we're going to add all of our personnel from C shift in here. So by doing that, which I just did, I've exempted some people in the department from this JPR of those two templates. Go ahead and save it. So here's that JPR listed right here. So I have 44 personnel. I have none of them have met this. Here's my date range, 9/1 to 9/30, and it's incomplete. Now, if I select my little triangle out here, I can see who's in it, and then I can see that this slacker by the name of Greg Simmons right here has not had any classes that meet this JPR. Neither does this guy. I don't know who I put in there, but we should find somebody eventually. But what we're going to have is, we're going to go put in a couple training records. So how we meet a JPR is if we put a class record in from that template. So that's one of the templates I had. And we did this class sometime in between the 1st and the 30th. It's going to sling into that JPR when I get my personnel in here. So let me get an instructor real quick. And we're going to we'll pick everybody from A shift in here. And of course we have to do this again. Bear with me, please. And get our hours put in. Then we're going to go authorize this because it's done, right? So that is one of the two templates in that particular JPR. Now, if we go back into it, take a look, we'll show you what we have here. We go down here like Michael Fabian. He is an astute student, has 1 out of 2 of those classes attended, and this is the one that we have. So if we go back out to our grid, I'm going to leave this JPR open and go here. We're going to put a class in for that other template, and we're just going to have Michael attend it. And that was that revised drill. And we're going to put this in for sometime within the time frame of the template. We'll go add Michael real quick. Do the old-fashioned way. We'll just scroll down and find him. I'm doing this just to simplify it a little bit. Now we'll go authorize this one. These have to be reviewed before the JPR will pick them up, right? And if we go back over here, we're going to refresh this page. Go back into this particular JPR, come down here to Michael, and you'll see that his JPR is now pending. He's got 2 out of 2 classes done. And if we give this our good old password, and when we grant that, you can also generate certifications and dump them if it applies to a certification automatically too. You can see now that we have him complete, and there's a completed date. Now, another thing that we can do to track JPRs besides looking at this list, unfortunately, one of the things with this list is it does not put the personnel in alphabetical order. Our backup to that is we're going to go to the reports module. For training reports 1688, JPR template completion status for template. So we're going to go back to September 2020. Pick up that JPR that I just created, and we'll just leave it all personnel. And you will see in this particular report, it does put them in alphabetical order, and you can see that their status within this report. And we scroll down here to Michael, we'll see that he is done with that one. So a lot of people are getting creative with this, and we helped a department here in Ohio. Can't remember which one it is currently, but they have a regimen of specific testing and practicals and trainings that a new employee has to complete. So they will actually create a JPR for an individual, and it will be for 6 months, whatever their probationary period is, that they require different trainings to happen within that probationary period, and they track the progress through there using JPR and this report to see which classes they've attended and got done with. So that basically is everything that we want to show and talk about today. Michael, do we have anything else to follow up with?
I think I got them all covered. Mike Wood, if I didn't answer all of your questions, if you could just throw something in the chat real quick and let us know in questions. But other than that, Mark, I answered everybody.
Okay, perfect. So we'll give you a final moment to put a question in if you need to. Mike, I am going to attempt to call you in about a half an hour from now. I've got a meeting to attend immediately when we're done with this presentation. It should not take all that long. And I am in the Eastern time zone. I think you're in Colorado, so somewhere around 1:30 p.m. your time. I've got your phone number here. I'll give you a call, see if we can help you out with anything else. Other than that, I think we're about ready to put this one in the record book, unless Michael has any more questions that got dumped in that we need to get to.
Mark West Hill just asked what happens if you delete a JPR and wanted to know if previous training would be deleted.
No, that does not happen. Let's go back in here. So one of these previous and old JPR, like this one, if I delete it, I just deleted the JPR, but it did not delete any training records whatsoever. Good question. I hope that was a sufficient answer. Yeah, you can see this list here. Some of these are from quite some time ago, from back in 2017. We can just go ahead and clean them out. It does not affect the actual training record. It just gets rid of the that individual JPR. Anything else, Michael?
There's one more that just came in from Ryan Earwood asking, was there a way to build an annual training calendar within ER trying to replace a workbook?
Oh, absolutely, sir. Here's what you do. Instead of having some kind of training workbook, just when you go in and add the class, schedule it like you normally would. Instead of putting it on a calendar, use this as your calendar. And what it will show up to, you can schedule classes like right now it's October 1st. If I know my training calendar for next year, I can start dumping those classes in and just putting them in. It'll just list it as scheduled. That may be a lot of material to wade through, kind of, but use your filter here. If I'm looking for incomplete classes, I just look for incomplete. I have it set at active. I'm going to see scheduled into the future, and everything that's reviewed, complete and incomplete. So yeah, go ahead, have at it. You know, a lot of places will schedule, put their training on the schedule. several months in advance. Now, one of the nice things, let's tie this together with the homepage notifications. If you have your homepage notifications set correctly, you can see that I have these set to, I think, looking out here for 30 days. The next 30 days, open classes is basically anything on the schedule. Now, if I have my name attached to a class, I will be enrolled in it, and it would display up here. And these notifications are available right here. So the bottom line is your personnel can log in and take a look right on the homepage. What's the training schedule for the next 30 days? They just have to fill out this section in their homepage notifications. Hope that answered it for you, sir. Anything else?
Yes, I think he's got it, Mark. He's saying things, so I think that answered his question.
Perfect. Okay, if we don't have anything else, sir, we're going to go ahead and put it in the record book. One last shot, Michael.
We'll take Jeffrey Bennett's that just came in that says, how do crews know what JPRs they need?
Print report 1688. And you can filter it by shift using a multi-pick list for your personnel. And just hand it to the captain or lieutenant. And then it'll be, if it's not completed, that means they need to take it. It'll be red text not completed or green text completed. Simple as that.
And real quick, Mark, I'll answer Wes Hill's question that came in at the same time, asking about archiving the templates. Will that delete already logged training classes? And the answer to that is no. Just like JPRs. If it's already been completed, that's completed training that will still show in the report.
Yeah, that's why you can only archive these, not delete them. That retains the data from all those previous classes. Absolutely. Hey, thanks, Michael, for helping out today. I need to close the session. I do have another engagement that has already started. So everybody have a great day and stay safe, and we'll see you next time on.